Hey everyone, Leon Chen here. So on Monday, May 18th, the stock market rallied almost 1,000 points due to a press release by Moderna that their vaccine, mRNA 1273, had very promising results and was the leading vaccine in the candidate for coronavirus. I'll explain the May 18th press release for you, but before we start, I think it would be really good if you watched the link up here for a foundational knowledge on mRNA, DNA, and how proteins, and also how coronavirus works. You can skip straight to 1 minute and 28 seconds. That'll give you straight to the good stuff. I really highly encourage you to watch that because there's a lot of technical stuff that can help you understand what's going on. So the press release gave results on phase 1 interim results. Clinical trials come after animal studies in humans, okay? Phase 1 clinical trials would mean a study on testing the safety. They're focusing mostly on safety of tens of people that are healthy. So then phase 2 is the next phase where they study on maybe not so healthy people on hundreds of people. The sample size is more around hundreds, and their focus is still on safety. They might still have effective results, but it's mostly focusing on safety. Phase 3, the next phase, on thousands of people that are randomized, of just people out there. And the focus is less on safety, but more about whether or not the drug is effective. Normally it would compare to the gold standard, but for a vaccination in coronavirus, there is no gold standard. Okay, this would be the gold standard. Phase 4. If any drug makes it to phase 4, by now it's already been released to the public. Phase 4 is just continued monitoring out there to make sure that this drug is safe. So when you hear of things like a recall from losartan, that's usually because it was in phase 4 and they had to recall it. It was already out to the public. So in this press release on May 18th, Moderna, it's an interim release, meaning that phase 1 was not even complete yet, but in the middle they just wanted to give you maybe a little bit of a teaser. Okay, so they tested 3 groups. Okay, the first group, they had 15 people that had 25 micrograms of the vaccine injected in the muscle. Then 30 days later they injected another dose. Okay, then the second group, they had the same thing, but instead of a 25 microgram dose, it was 100 micrograms. Then the third group, they had another 15 people that tested 1 dose of 250 micrograms injection. So then they checked the levels of antibodies in the blood after the second dose. Now, at the press release, they only had results for 8 people. 4 from the 25 microgram group and 4 from the 100 microgram group. Why did they only release results for 8? I don't know. Okay, I'm confused just like you are. I'm just reading from what the press release said. But if I were to speculate, it's probably because they were time sensitive for something, in which we'll talk about a little bit later. The 25 microgram group had equivalent antibody response. Antibodies are essentially the backbone of the most effective form of your immune system. So more antibody response, the greater your immune response. Okay, so the 25 microgram had an equivalent antibody response as somebody who actually had coronavirus and recovered. So that's pretty amazing, because you get the same antibody response just by getting 2 injections in the muscle as somebody who actually had coronavirus and recovered. The 100 microgram group, this is interesting, had an even stronger response. The antibody levels were higher than those who recovered, indicating that this is probably dose dependent. Okay, the side effects were a grade 3 reaction. Grade 3 meaning they were hospitalized, but not life-threatening, due to some redness at the area of injection. I don't know the exact details of this, but I think it's probably because they wanted to monitor the patient, just make sure it didn't progress to something life-threatening. So let's talk a little bit about Moderna. Moderna is a new pharmaceutical company that has a goal of utilizing mRNA as, again, like I said, please watch my other video if you haven't already, because it will explain everything about what mRNA is. Remember, 1 minute and 28 seconds, okay? It uses mRNA to make vaccines by injecting you with the mRNA and having your body make just one part of the virus. It's actually the spiky protein. When you look at all the pictures, when they have artists, drawing pictures and there's spikes all over it, it's actually that spike protein. It makes just that and nothing else, so that you can't actually get infected, but it shows you a part of the virus. It shows your body a part of the virus so that your body can recognize this in the future. If an event that you actually get infected, they know how to respond, okay? In lay terms, it essentially means to give your body instructions on how to defeat the virus without actually having the virus. This method of using messenger RNA to have your body generate the proteins on there to create the vaccine is as opposed to actually creating virus particles in a laboratory, which is extremely labor intensive, time intensive, and also has many legal restrictions. So a lot of the data can be fragmented and it's not unified. So this is different from Moderna, in which they can do this because RNA and DNA by itself is by nature actually almost like computer code, which is actually quite amazing. Instead of zeros and ones, it's just 4 letters, okay? So Moderna is leveraging digital technology such as Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and cloud computing to create vaccines with dramatic efficiency. Everyone throws out these keywords, but just to give you an idea, the average vaccine takes from idea inception to phase 1 clinical trials 5 years. Moderna went from RNA sequencing to human trials in 42 days. The average vaccine takes 10 to 15 years to develop. The goal for COVID-19 virus is 1 year. I mean, that's amazing. So, the white papers I read that suggest this technology, I encourage you to read it. It's almost like what the advent of the internet did for information, if you believe it. The white papers aren't unbiased, but they do provide a lot of factual, presenting facts and information that can tell you what the potential is. So why did they publish a press release with an 8 sample size, of 8 people? They only picked 4 from a group that had 15, in multiple groups. So why only pick 8? So this is actually quite interesting, because the same day they also published that they would announce a public offering of more stock. They raised $1.25 billion, offering 17 million shares of new stock. Okay, the stock jumped 30% on that news release. This is ingenious, because you want to raise money when hype for your stock is at an all-time high. Who would want to sell more of their stock when the stock is low? Okay, you want to maximize the amount of money you get from it. So, this is speculation, but I think that the reason that they only did it was because they only had enough time to get results for 8 people at the same time that they could announce this public offering. So Moderna as a stock, should you invest? Well, on my channel, I don't like to make recommendations. I like to give the pros and cons, and you as the intelligent investor make the decision for yourself, okay? So pros. The true story of Moderna is not about coronavirus. It's about the revolutionary way of developing new vaccines. They use Amazon Web Services and leveraging all the things we talked about: cloud, Internet of Things, automation, artificial intelligence, and data analytics, which is the future. Whenever I get asked about the future of something, anything, whether it's a job prospect or investing in a business, I always ask, what is the plan to leverage for those things? Cloud computing, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, that technology. If there is not even a thought in that direction, I don't even think about it, okay? Why? Because we all learned this lesson. Look at what Amazon did to all the retail businesses out there. They vaporized them. Amazon is the Death Star. Why? Because all of these physical locations had no digital presence. And after Amazon is already 8 years in the future, 8 years technology ahead of everyone else, now everyone jumps on board and they're just playing catch up and they just can't compete. Walmart spent billions of dollars acquiring jet.com, just to have some sort of competition with Amazon. Costco also has been investing heavily, and any company that doesn't have a digital presence is probably on the verge of bankruptcy. So that's just for digitization. Artificial intelligence is going to be orders of magnitude exponentially more significant than that. If you don't believe me, do some Googling and some YouTube videos on artificial intelligence and you'll see just how amazing it will be. Another pro about Moderna, is that their balance sheet is actually very good, okay? Their quick ratio is 7.9 based on March's quarterly filings. That means that they have enough liquid assets meaning assets that can be easily converted to cash really fast. It's not like inventory. They have enough liquid assets to pay off their short-term debt almost 8 times over before having some financial difficulty. Okay, this doesn't even account for the 1.25 billion that they've raised, so it's going to get even better than that. Excuse me. Their debt to equity ratio is 0.25. Lower is better. So some of the cons: their stock has already run up 200% in the past year, so it could be overpriced. Okay, there is, even for a stock as amazing as this, there is a number that's too high, and so it could be too high. Always consider that. Con number 2: they have no income. They're just burning through cash until they can actually make money. Con number 3: this could be a story quite like remdesivir, in which they just charitably give it away at the vaccine or at cost. And while this might be great for the public, as an investor, it might not be so great. Con number 4: they have no track record. Okay, they have never made a successful vaccine. If you invest in Moderna, you're investing in a dream. But dreams have dramatic payouts, as you can see with Tesla. Okay, this is not a company with a history of credibility like Johnson & Johnson or Bristol Myers. We don't really know what is to become of this company. Okay, some of you might be familiar with the story of Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes, and if you aren't, I encourage you to Google it and kind of see what happened. It basically taught us that if a result is too good to be true, you really need to be super cautious, or you could get super burned. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. And if you really enjoyed this content, please hit that thumbs up, like. It helps promote my video to other people, and it does help out a new YouTuber. Thank you so much. See you next time.